Welcome, everybody. Let me jump over to Instagram. They always make you manually click the little thing once you've started the StreamYard. So let me make sure that is happening. And all right, we are ready. Let's play the opening. Give people a couple seconds to join us. Oh, and boom,
Hey.
Dallas.
Hey, what's up, man?
There you are.
Shit,
I told you. I told him you were coming. All right, just in the nick of time for the opening. Here we go. Welcome, everybody, to another Wine and Comics pairing show. And today we have a very special guest, Scott Wilke, not with an IE, as I learned earlier today, even though it's pronounced Wilke. No I right there, but still Wilke. Yeah, names are fun. Names are always fun. But thank you, Scott, for we corrected it fairly quickly. But welcome. He is the creator of what we're going to talk about today, Cupid, the one shot of Murder and Mayhem, currently on Kickstarter until March 14th. In fact, we have a little banner, which let's get that ticker up there so everyone can see what's happening here.
Love it.
And Scott, so Cupid is going out. So the Kickstarter is live until March 14th. You are, as a creator, I have seen some of your comics around before because I looked into your bibliography and your backstory. But this is the first I've actually read. And full disclosure, everyone who's watching, we only read a preview of it. So like a little 6-page little intro to the whole thing. And this Cupid is based on another what's that, Dallas? Sorry. Nope, he's frozen. Okay. So
it was that good.
It was that good. StreamYard was like, nope, can't share that on you. But yeah, so Cupid is based on another one of your comics in the same universe as a previous comic of yours, Periwinkle, which we will, by the way, guys, we're going to go visit the Kickstarter page in a little bit here, but there is the free first chapter of Periwinkle, which you can click on and download on the Kickstarter page, which I did do that as well. So I've now read the first chapter of Periwinkle and this little bump preview of Cupid. Awesome. And these are all going through a group called Bad Bug. Correct. And Bad Bug is actually kind of new to me, even though I've seen them around. So first, kick us off. Who are you as a creator? What got you into comics? And what part do you play with Bad Bug? Are you just really tight with them, or are you part of Bad Bug? That was something I couldn't quite figure out.
Yeah, Bad Bug, we're pretty new to the scene, but it's been this explosive growth over the last, couple years. So yeah, we've pumped out quite a few titles. Myself alone, I have, Bobby Joe, Serial Killer, Cupid, Dead End Moon. I'm trying to think now. Hypergeist, Monster World, Xenogeist, Periwinkle. I have to end up writing them down so I forget. Yeah. We're new to the scene.
That doesn't sound new to the scene. That is a lot of titles.
It feels like it. Yeah, it's just been kind of going, and we're just kind of buckled into this roller coaster we've been on. Mike Tiener's the founder of Bad Bug, and I met him early on in my writing career. We collabed on Undercity Tales together. And during that collaboration, he was mentioning he wanted to start his own publishing house. And, I told him, I'm like, whatever I can do to help you get that off the ground, use me. So I've been along the ride and just riding on his coattails since then. It's been a whirlwind for sure the last couple of years.
God, yes. That's not a bad whirlwind to ride. Those aren't bad coattails to hang on to. Like a new publisher wants to start, and they're like, "Hey, you want to just come along with us?" And it's like,
"Yeah, sure."
Twist my arm, drag me along. Oh my God. So for you as just a creator, though, even before that, so when he dragged you along, where were you on your writing journey and your creative journey at that point?
Yeah, I have a creator-owned title called The Legend of Everett Forge, and that's what I was writing under another banner, About Time Comics. Struggling to make that one go. And then, again, I owe a lot to Mike because my first Kickstarter for Everett Forge failed miserably. I think I had I got $900 on a $6,000 goal.
Oh man!
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I was pretty down and out at that point. I was like,
Alice, you might want to bounce out and come back in because you're freezing every single
freezing?
time. I'm gonna knock you off the stage. See if you can come back in. There you go. And we'll see what happens there. But anyways, go ahead, Scott. Keep going.
Yeah, no. So he was really supportive, really helpful, and encouraged me to keep going. So you can blame him for my career
anymore. What's happening?
Oh, did I lose you?
What is happening? Hold on a sec.
Okay.
Got. Nope. Nope. Come back. Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Good
No
Lord.
problem.
Oh, wait, I can't. Oh, wait. And okay, stream is still going. Perfect. All right, let's see.
Is it just me? Hi, guys. How's it going? Well, this isn't at all awkward, is it? Why don't you guys, oh, are we back?
How about now? Are we better?
Shit.
Scott, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay.
I don't think Dave can hear us, though.
Okay. All right. Sounds like all right. Well, let's keep going. Let's keep this train moving.
No problem.
Yeah. So yeah. Tell I kind of want to know about that first comic you launched, though. What was the energy going into that guy? What was
Yeah, so it's a steampunk western based. It's alternate Wild West where robots are the American West.
Okay.
It never really found its audience. I've struggled to keep it going, so I kind of just put a pin in that series altogether.
And about how long was that? Long ago was that?
I fulfilled number 3, I think, in like I think right before the pandemic, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe it was 2020. Yeah. So since then, and again, I struggled to fund all those, so I kind of just put a pin in it. And then Mike was launching Bad Bug, and we talked about doing Periwinkle.
Okay.
So since then, I've kind of diverted all of my resources and energy to Bad Bug and the Periwinkle universe. So.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. What got you started in comics? Let's go back while we figure out these technical difficulties. Let's backtrack and figure out the how you onboarded into the comics world. What was were you a fan first? What were you digging into?
Yeah, always a fan. My mom used to pick me up like Superman comics from grocery stores. So since I was a little kid, I've been reading. Wanted to tell stories, wanted to do some type of medium, went to films, did film school.
Yeah.
And then at a comic convention, I was walking, through Artist Alley, talking to some of the guys and just picking their brains on how they got here. One of the guys was like, yeah, I just hired an artist, gave him my script. And it sounded very much like storyboarding, which I had experience in with film school. So I'm like, okay, I never even thought of it. I've been reading comics this whole time, but I've been so focused on doing film.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went home that night, talked to my wife, started knocking out some scripts, did Everett Forge, and then here we are.
Man, you're fully an adult then, huh? That's fantastic, man.
Yeah. Right.
Most guys take that leap when they're, put loose and fancy free at 19 and 20 years old. So
nah, I'm always fashionably late to everything.
Same, buddy.
So.
I'm right here with you. Same.
Right.
Same. So you said Superman was one of those early titles. What else?
Yeah.
You had to pick some of those sort of formative titles and worlds. What would they be?
A lot of it, like I was a DC boy, so Batman, all of them, Flash, I was all into those. I honestly didn't get into Marvel probably till my 20s.
Okay.
And then when I started going to conventions around that time is when I started like discovering the indie scene and realizing kind of like the deep well that was, and not even just like Image, like we're talking like the deep, the real, not real, but like the indies who are like funding these and
right.
So yeah,
the guys are doing it for the love of the craft.
Yeah,
exactly.
So once I saw that, and now I primarily shop indies at this point. I haven't read a lot from the big guys,
Yeah, man, that big. I don't know. It's been about a solid decade. When Dave and I had the agency, we were deeply entrenched in that world and trying to sort of proliferate comic IP, indie IP into film and television. So
yeah,
a lot of the meetings, a lot of the sort of groundwork, footwork we put in was with these big labels, these big imprints, and they're just monoliths, man. They just don't move unless they can justify every expense. There's no room to build an audience, to take a new property out from ground zero and allow it to find its footing. So because we had so many of those indie titles, which were they were by great artists, great writers, who again were guys doing it for the love of the craft. It was difficult. We were over with ICM for a while as co-agents, and the two agents who were over there, we realized what the industry was looking for was, guys who could come in with these sort of cinematic television ready properties that did need to find an audience, that were trying to reestablish some old format or some old property and tie into something. So it was kind of a nightmare, but we definitely cut our teeth in that world for sure, and are thankful for it. So and you mentioned you have a film background. What's that background? How did you get into that? What was the
It's honestly just that's about as much of a history as I have. I was going to go to film, or I was going to go to LA, I should say. Some things got in the way. So I ended up in Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay.
So nothing really came of it. I like doing short films, short scripts, short film scripts and stuff like that. But nothing really ever came of it. So just kind of put it in my back pocket in case, could ever find a use for that later on. And then thankfully now, I mean, it's the mediums are so closely interlocked together, because it is just storyboarding, at the end of the day. So it just felt like a perfect kind of serendipitous end to my career, my journey. Exactly. So
I get it. Are you still down in Phoenix?
I am. Yep.
Oh, good deal. Yeah. Not to dox you, but
yeah, I know. Yeah. No one wants to come here. It's too hot. So
that's very true, man. God.
Yeah, thankfully, and we're starting to head towards the heat again, so I can't wait to do.
I don't know how you guys do that. I really have no idea how you guys do that, man.
I don't know. I go to the Costco freezer section during the just hang out there. I need to put my desk in there and write in there, Yeah.
All right, now let's get to the meat. Let's talk about Cupid here. And guys, if you are watching, make sure you go and check out the Kickstarter. I believe you guys are already funded, right? We did say.
Yeah, we are funded. Yep.
Already funded, but go ahead and give these guys some money so they can build this world out, guys. You know how it works. Every dollar helps. Every dollar is important. Every dollar is amazing. These are creators who are digging in because they have stories to tell, and they're building their audiences or organically. I hate that word, but you guys really are. I hate that word.
Yeah, me too.
Real quick, tell us a bit more about Bad Bug Media and what you guys got coming down the road. Like, what are you working on now besides this property? Of course, we'll definitely highlight this a little later. But what's the energy? What's going on at Bad Bug these days?
Yeah, like I said, like very explosive growth. We're delving a lot into like the NSFW books. So we have kind of a mature section or imprint, so to speak, currently in the mature line. I write, like I said, I have Xenogeist, Hypergeist, and Dead End Moon, which technically doesn't fit that. Our covers are just kind of cheesecakey, and then Bobby Joe too, same kind of situation.
Yeah,
that's pretty much our focus, really, truly, over the last couple years, because I mean, it pays the bills. And I think there's a balance because people are like, well, there's no story to those, and then we kind of took that as a challenge. We're like, all right, we'll add story. I think you can have both,
right?
So we've had really good reception on all of them. Titles really explode. We just wrapped up Bombshell and Atomica, which was our first kind of collaboration with people outside of Bad Bug in that realm. So that was Kat Calamia and Phil Falco.
Yeah,
they wrote those. But everything else is been pretty much kind of in-house. Like Ruben and Casey, they do Astro Witch. We have Alan Dunford, which you might be familiar with. He does Death Knell.
Yeah.
And then outside of those, we couple it with our SFW books. So we got, Horus in Hell, Pocus Hocus. Those are Alan's properties. We got Serial Killer, which I write, Monster World.
Man, you guys are
Periwinkle, Cupid. Yeah, I mean, we just keep going and going. Yeah.
That is so. Is this full time for you guys? This is the energy. This is
not for me, but I mean, Mike's had to turn his focus to this full time for sure. But yeah, I have a day job that I have to do, and so it's nice to have like the left side, right side perspective, because my day job's a lot of data analysis and project management, risk analysis.
You need to go and kill some people in your off time.
Otherwise I'm going to lose my damn mind. So yeah.
That's fantastic, man.
Yeah.
So now, as far as for the people watching here, how do Periwinkle and Cupid fit together? Do they properly fit together? We may have already answered this, but let's jump back into that.
Yeah, we haven't jumped into it yet, but yeah, Periwinkle was my first outing, and it's about Santa gets killed by Krampus.
Yeah.
And there's an elf that goes Kill Bill style revenge on him.
Okay, before we go any further, as a person who has written both a Tarantino style Santa comic and a sort of death elf comic, I love it. I'm just
that's awesome. All right,
thank God. You've got a fan here. So sorry, go on, continue.
No, that's awesome. I'm glad. Because I mean that's part of it. Because I want people to back Cupid and Periwinkle, because it's like I have to prove a point. Because Mike, Tina, and I, it's like, are people gonna want to read these types of things and read about holiday characters and debaucherous situations? I'm like, I do. So
100%.
I hope to God there's more like me out there. If they're not, then I need to go check myself into some kind of, I don't know, clinic.
There is something magical about that space, though, because all those characters, all those archetypes, your Santas, your elves, your Cupids, they are these sort of pristine characters that live in our childhood, that live in our youth, when we were less jaded, and we had no rough edges, when all was well and dandy with the world. And now that we've gone through the dryer and the ringer a bit, we want to see those pristine characters reflect what we kind of want to do or experience in the world. So
I love that you get it, man. You get it. That's
100%.
All right, cool. I'm glad there's at least two of us in the world.
Exactly. I think we're good. And the other thing I'll say is what you've done with, because they're technically public domain characters, right?
Yeah.
And there's a universality there, right? And I think what you guys tap in, particularly with these characters, is a very wide potential audience base, which is always amazing from a business standpoint, particularly going into the comics world where you're building authentically and organically on these platforms. I think, the proof's in the pudding. Look at what you guys have already done with Cupid, right? Like, that thing's, you've got what, twice your budget now, I think, what's your ask. So, not to harp on the numbers, but the numbers speak for themselves. I mean, these are perennial, annual characters, lifetime characters, and we like to see them get into the shit, right? We just do. They're our magic. They're our childhood magic. And we like to see, as adults, we like to see that magic kind of, be tested. And I fucking love it. So sorry, I cut you off.
I mean, no, you couldn't have. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. But that's exactly. I mean, I went into Periwinkle because I love Christmas.
Yeah.
And I love European Christmas lore, Krampus, Belsnickel, all that. And I didn't want to do like a reimagining of Santa Claus. It's been done a lot and by far better writers than me. So I'm like, who's the next kind of player involved in that I could explore? So the elves were the obvious choice, and just explore kind of what, after Santa's dead and this elf who's really not been in that elf world, who was added into it and found purpose in that. What's his journey to, come to the conclusion? He lost his purpose. He had it. He had something that made his everything have meaning, and now he lost that. Like, what's that journey look like for him? So that's kind of the building point of that. And I never really intended to go beyond him. I wanted to write like some maybe prequel, sequels, et cetera, et cetera. But somebody had asked me in a podcast during the promo of Periwinkle, they're like, "So what's going on in the outside world during all this?" You know?
Okay.
And then I'm like, "Well, I don't have the real estate in Periwinkle to explore that. I'd love to."
Yeah.
And then it really got my gears turning, and I'm like, "Who's like a really good person to kind of show me what's going on outside, in the real world?" And I'm like, it'd be really cool to use a mythical character or holiday character's lens to explore that. And then I'm like, Santa's dead. There's a lack of love in the world now. Hate's running rampant.
That's
Who's
right.
going to be affected by that the most? Cupid.
That's right, buddy.
So now, so that's how we get to Cupid. Cupid's out of work. He's got to make ends meet. So he does like some less than scrupulous activities. He gets involved with a loan shark, and he owes him a very
As one
large
does.
sum of money.
As one does.
Exactly. So he's got to pay off a debt in 24 hours. And he knows, so he's got to hit a mark. He's got a heist in mind, but he needs help. So he turns to his friends, the Tooth Fairy and the Boogeyman, to help him do the heist. And
of course.
Yeah. Guy Ritchie, Ocean's 11.
That's right. It's the cast of sort of, uncanny characters, right? And
exactly.
What I think you do so well in this, first of all, the art is just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And what I think what you guys do so well in this is you do give us this motley crew of characters, but this motley crew of characters are all characters that we've identified with at one point in our childhoods, which is kind of a stroke of genius. You really have taken these really accessible characters and just flesh them out into these sort of icons of dissonance almost. It's like the Tooth Fairy and Cupid. It's like, holy shit, this is pretty rock solid. You take Cupid and just make him a guy who's got to get some shit done in 24 hours by hell or, crook. And I'm using that phrase wrong, but I've had enough wine to justify it. But you really have. And so you start with Periwinkle, you got the elves, you got Santa, you got all the backstory there.
Mm-hmm.
Cupid. What was the connection to Cupid? Or was it just let me slap this guy up a little bit? Like what?
Honestly, yeah. I mean, that was the catalyst. Like, there's a lot of hate in the world. It's like, who's affected by that the most? It's Cupid. And then, to your point, with these additional characters like Tooth Fairy and Boogeyman, it's like, I was talking to Mike Teener, and it's like, what would the real life Tooth Fairy be? He's kind of got like questionable practices, right?
Sneaking into people's homes.
Yeah, to take teeth. Like what's he doing with them? And so I wanted to address that. And then Boogeyman, we're living in an era where kids are kind of desensitized. They're not scared of anything anymore. They see horror films everywhere, YouTube videos, da 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 da. So like, what's that do to the Boogeyman? Who's kids aren't scared of him anymore. So now I gave Boogeyman crippling anxiety and depression because he's got how does he make what's he supposed to do? And so
he's nothing to do. He's on Reddit all day.
Exactly. So yeah, it's cool to give these very human traits to these very non-human beings and put them on our level. I mean, they are still powerful. They still have, Boogeyman, he can open closet portals. So that's how he gets between closets. Tooth Fairy, doesn't quite look like what you would expect. He's got kind of a pack rat looking vibe with fairy wings. So we tried to kind of, humanize it as much as we can, or realize it, or whatever you want to say, make it more as real as possible. And again, all that shout out. And then I think you mentioned too, the artist, it goes to Arturo Mesa. He's the artist on this one, and Periwinkle.
It again, the art on Periwinkle alone, there's that I think you have a full panel shot in Periwinkle of the elf standing in the doorway, and it's like he has the axe, a mate or something. That's fantastic.
That's a gorgeous shot. I love that. And that's Arturo's got a very cinematic approach, and that works really well for me because I visualize things cinematically.
Yeah, same.
And he doesn't require very much, if any, guidance. Like if you look at my scripts to him, because a lot of times I just let him drive because he gets it. So I tell him the size of character, like I know how tall Cupid is. I'm like, but run with what you want to do. So he modeled him a lot after Leonardo DiCaprio and Romeo and Juliet.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm like, all right, I see that.
Yeah.
And then see with Tooth Fairy, I had a certain design in mind. I wanted him to look more like Dobby, the house elf.
Yeah.
And so he came in with this like pack rat looking idea, and I'm like, that actually makes sense because it's like he likes to acquire a lot of something like a pack rat. So it's like, but it just happens to be children's teeth. So I just let him drive. I mean, he's so good, and even though we have a kind of a language barrier, he's from Spain.
Okay.
And then he
not
told me,
not uncommon. There's so many times even when we were in the industry, it's just you get these guys and you're like, oh shit, you're in the middle of Brazil and you speak no English, but figure out a way around it because you're amazing.
And he figured it out, yeah. And it was funny because we were on the phone the other day and he told me that he had learned all of his English from Tarantino films. So I'm like,
I like that. I
love that. Yeah,
that's the guy who goes. Yeah, that's the guy you want when you're making a Tarantino style.
Yeah. And then he's got such a love for like '90s, pop, pop references, and he loves like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like I do, all that stuff. So you can catch little references.
Have you seen the latest one?
I have. I don't.
You know what? Thoughts. Let it flow, baby. Let's give it to me. Let it go.
I wasn't a huge fan.
Yeah.
But I saw the merit in it for kind of transitioning it to like the next generation of TMNT.
It is a perfect launch pad for the next iteration. I get it. I totally get that they were laying the groundwork.
It wasn't for me, but I appreciate what they were trying to do. So
yeah, absolutely.
But
yes, there were some panels in there that were beautiful. I mean, I had some shots in there that were kind of fantastic. But I get this film. Yeah, this film was for the next generation of.
It's so hard because it's like you feel a possession over it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
but you got to hand over the torch, I guess, at some point or whatever you want to call it.
Man.
But
I would hate to see Stan Lee still at the helm at 98 years old or not however he was. It's like
yeah, I guess we do have to hand it off. Yeah, you're right.
Gotta let it go sometime. So real quick, take us back to the team on Periwinkle, and you said Mesa is a return for Cupid, right? Are there any other returns on the team?
Honestly, there's Dave Lentz, who's our amazing letterer. Yep. He's our letterer extraordinaire. But Arturo does all the art, so he does line work, inking, colors. So it's just this tight little team. Me and myself, Arturo, and Dave. And I don't want to let Arturo go anytime soon. So as long as he'll keep working with me, we're doing the follow up to Cupid, which is going to be Jack Frost.
Okay.
Where he's an assassin, John Wick style.
Yeah.
So
all right, I may shoot you an email. I may shoot you an email to get some page rates for Arturo because I love his style.
Right.
So in his off times with you guys, I may have to.
Yeah. That's why I always say like it must be what people felt like when they saw Steven Spielberg in film school or something, because it's like the fact I caught this guy at the beginning of his career is
is he just started?
Lucky. Yeah, he's got one other series outside of mine that he's done, and the 13th Labor. But other than that, this is the only thing I've seen him do, and it's insane that he's this good already.
It really is.
And he lives out in the mountains of Spain, so he's got like horrible like internet reception. It's just I'm like, you are an enigma wrapped in an anomaly, and I love
my kind of guy.
Right?
Trust me, I'm reluctantly doing this show with Dave. He's been trying to get me in public places for a long time. He's finally got his wish. So, So as far as the campaign here, let's for those who still want to donate to contribute. I hate saying donate. Fund for those who still want to fund. Let's go through some of the specifics of the campaign here. So we've got the story here. Once we re-air this, we'll add the images. Oh, what happened?
Dave.
He's back.
Dave's back. But we can't hear you, Dave.
Mute. You're muted.
You're muted.
Unmute. Nope. Uh-oh. It's Cupid. He's annoyed that we're talking about him.
Maybe?
There we go. There you go. There you go, baby.
I think I heard you.
Jesus. I somehow, this took me forever. I've never done this before. Apparently, there's a way to turn the sound off only in Google Chrome, nothing else on your computer. I was playing your video live and I couldn't hear that either. And I'm like, what is happening with the sound? Everything else works. I restarted my computer twice and I finally had to find, I hit some hotkey somehow and like only turned it off in the browser. And oh my God, that is live and learn, learn. So I've heard not one word of any of this, which is fine.
That's fine. We're actually ready to pull up. Can you pull up, Dave,
to pull up the Kickstarter? Okay, one sec. I do have it up. I do have it up. Just in time. Oh, son of a gun. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Share, ba-boom.
There we go.
All right. Cupid, a one-shot comic of murder and mayhem.
Yeah.
An out-of-work god of love teams up with the Tooth Fairy and Boogeyman to pay off a bloodthirsty loan shark. I love that. Should we play the video?
Yeah.
Yes, please do. Yeah, I really want to highlight that.
Please do. Here we go. All right, here we go.
Santa Claus is dead. And without him, our whole world went to shit. No one's got the spirit anymore. I used the last of my juice, trying to keep her. A lot of good it did me. So it was only a matter of time before they came for love too.
Kill him.
That is glorious.
All right, that's fantastic, buddy.
That is really fantastic. Okay, so Scott, talk to us. How did this get made? How did that video get made? That's amazing.
Jared, we don't deserve Jared. But yeah, he's
no one deserves that video for a comic. I'm sorry. That was great. That was fantastic.
Good. No, Jared over at Prevalent Minds. Yeah, he did that. He spent, I think, told me 40 days on that. And I'm like,
Jeez.
wow. I mean, yeah, it shows because that's some quality work.
Great effort.
Yeah, he does a lot of videos for Bad Bug. I think Mike's probably the one who discovered him. So, yeah, he did the Periwinkle one, and he's done one for like the other books I've worked on, like Serial Killer, Monster World. There's just such a blast. And yeah.
Do you have any ideas as a piece of potential real talk? Like, what was the cost to make something like that? Because that's a lot of work from one guy.
It's honestly not bad. I mean, I think it was probably around 400 or so.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's really not bad. Okay. Well, he should charge more. You didn't hear that from me, but,
right.
Good Lord. All right. Well, yeah, anyone who wants to know more about this guy, if you saw that video and you were like, ooh, okay, more of that. Yeah, hit up Scott for that contact information, or we'll try and drop it below this video. Maybe we'll get the information from Scott and let people reach out, because that might be, not that many people play the video on these Kickstarters anymore, which is kind of a shame sometimes, because I've even toyed with the idea of like putting the video in the body of the Kickstarter somewhere, just to be like, if the person who just scrolls right away from the top and they're like, yeah, whatever that is. But then they get down below and they're like, oh, there's a video in here. Let me play that. And then they can see the amazing work and whatnot. I've always thought maybe that's a good way. If you really want them to see the video, if you're like, no, guys, really,
you need
this
to look
is
at
something
this.
you want to watch.
Yeah.
And I'm usually kind of on the fence of animated comic work in terms of like, taking the still pages and giving them a little bit of a something for the videos. Like I totally get why we do it. But sometimes I'm just sort of like, yeah, but that's not really the product. Like it's that weird sort of thing where you're like, it's cool, but is it really selling what we're selling? Because that's not the actual product and whatnot. But that I gotta hand it to whoever made that. I'm like, you know what, that sells it. Fucking A. I just don't even.
I know, right?
All my usual reservations are out the window with that. But
he's
all right.
He's good. And he doesn't require much direction either. He asked me kind of like what overall the theme was, and I gave him like some references because I was telling Dallas earlier that Arturo modeled Cupid after Leonardo DiCaprio in Romeo and Juliet.
I can see that.
So I gave him like soundtrack wise, if you want to like look at that soundtrack, maybe give you some inspiration. But he's just, and again, he's a one-man shop, a one-man band too. He does all that in house. And
man, you guys have really put together a crazy bunch of artists here, I have to say. Like the sort of polish in everything you guys are putting out here is it's something to be inspired to.
I appreciate that.
And I was telling him earlier about Periwinkle. I was not expecting that level of quality, honestly. In that book. Some of those panels are, they're fantastic. Some of those pages.
Appreciate that. Yeah. No, totally.
I think the comics themselves looked a lot like they reminded me when I was looking through like just sort of Bad Bug's catalog and whatnot. And it reminded me a lot of another really fairly big these days indie publisher. I'm going to forget the name of the publisher, but they're the ones that do like The Wrong Earth. And let me actually look them up real quick because I feel like I really want to name this publisher.
Ahoy?
Wrong Earth. Ahoy, yes, Ahoy Comics. Yeah. You guys remind me a lot, and I mean that as a true compliment because I love.
Yeah, it's good company to be with.
Really,
we'll take it.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
So, Dave, scroll down to the where was I? God damn it! There we are. Let's get into these covers. Actually, let's just go straight to the covers.
Okay. We just saw some of the art, but here it is in actual page form. We'll just take a quick look at it. And this is a 36-page one-shot comic.
Right. Yep.
Will be printed on the 80-pound gloss text paper, cardstock covers. So, high quality all around. And for fans of and then of course promotion, this is where you can download the Read Periwinkle chapter 1 right here, so you can click on that link. You can go to the Kickstarter, you don't have to back it, you can just click on that and download.
Check it out, guys. Worth the read, my God.
Appreciate that. Thank you. I'm glad,
Not sold by anything else on this page. Like reading that, if you're not sold by reading that, okay, this comic's not for you. Sure, let's move.
And I will say, Scott, it's a stroke of genius to offer that as an onboard and on ramp into the world of Cupid, because like we were saying earlier, we were talking about taking these public domain characters which have this sort of brilliance connected to our innocence and our childhood, and then kind of dusting them up and giving them a real life is it's always not always going to do well, but when you guys do it this well, it's going to find an audience. And again, the proof is in the pudding based on what you guys have already done for Cupid. So
right.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, and I liked the in Periwinkle for the one chapter that I read, you don't get too much of the details of the backstory of how this all started, but I like the gray area of it as well, where it's like, yes, there's a lot of grim and grittiness, and there's like some, it's kind of a revenge tale or a getting even kind of a tale, but both sides kind of have like, it sounds like they had good reasons to do what they did. And even though there's like a fallout that's kind of tremendous from it all, it did sound like it was kind of a shit show one way or the other. It was like damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah.
So pick one.
It's the great tension. Right. It's great character attention. That's what you need when you have these characters at odds with each other. So fantastic.
I'm glad you guys brought that. I mean, because that's really my goal. Like I like, even though I grew up on Superman, I like those gray zone characters. I mean,
Periwinkle, much more satisfying.
so much more. And like Periwinkle kills his brother in the first 5 pages, you know. So it's like,
don't give it away. Come on,
yeah. But is he the hero? You know, I mean, that's the question. It's like,
Right.
should I be rooting for this guy? And I want you to kind of take that time to figure that out.
Right. And even in that first chapter, you flip-flop a couple of times, because at first the person he's killing sounds really reasonable and sounds like they had a really good reason. But then he goes back and he has this other character on his side, and that person kind of agrees. Like, he doesn't like what Periwinkle is doing, but he kind of agrees. He's like, no, what they did was horrible. And you're like, well, for fuck's sake, what? Okay. So it's like neither side is really firm earth. It's like they're both kind of doing their best decision to a shit situation. And that is always a better read and a much more engaging kind of a story. Kind of a story.
I mean, that's real life, you know. The story is it's always between two people's narratives, right? The truth that's where it lies. So I love that. I never wanted to give you a definitive answer on who was right or wrong, because who knows? It's depending on which lens you're looking through.
And real quick, Dave, can you open the Periwinkle chapter real quick?
I can.
And do me a favor and scroll down. I love this image. I absolutely fucking love this image.
Which one am I scrolling down to?
Scroll down. It is the first, second, fourth page. It's the shadow image of let's see, of the guy standing. Yeah, it's the guy. That I love that. That's fantastic.
The Ghost of Christmas Past. Yeah. I got too giddy writing that line, but
I can see it. It honestly comes through.
And the dialogue, honestly, that's I mean, you have a real knack for doing, like, it doesn't feel like you're riffing on any other writer, but it's punchy. Still a very it's punchy. It's but with an element of naturalism to it. Like, not, you're not doing naturalism for naturalism's sake. It's not like, it's not like Bendis, where you're like, okay, after 5 pages, can we get to the point of this conversation? Because sometimes you don't want that either. But you have a good sweet spot between those.
Scott, you mentioned we were mentioning earlier about your you see things cinematically, and I think, and also your background interest in storyboarding and the Tarantino kind of canon. I think those things inform this work appropriately, because it has an energy, it's cinematic, and it honestly, it almost reads like, if the right person comes along and encounters the particular Periwinkle, the film is right there. It's just right there.
I love you guys. Can I just say? They're just that's the big. I mean, I work really hard on the dialogue, and I get a lot of grief from the Bad Bug guys because I write. They say I write too much. But I'm like, to harken back to Tarantino, the opening to Inglourious Bastards is it's a ballet of words. It's a fight scene of words, and it's probably one of my favorite scenes ever put to screen, because it's like not a lot of action's happening. But like there's a ton of tension, and like you're just freaking it's just like,
you're in it.
You're in it. And like I try. I'm not saying I'm Tarantino, but like
that, you are. You heard it here first, guys.
I know. I appreciate that, but no, I mean,
another version of that, Scott, if you've never seen it before, and I know Tarantino was heavily inspired in Kill Bill by this director, but if you've never seen King Hu movies. And Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon was based on a lot of his movies as well, like Touch of Zen. And the one that a lot of people reference is Come Drink With Me. And Come Drink With Me, if you look that movie up, it is a masterclass of like, you are like, your fingers are digging into the fucking couch and nothing is happening. No one is moving. They're just talking, and things are slowly taking their positions around the room, and it goes on for like 20 minutes, and you're just like, it is a nail biter, and no one is making a sudden move. And I've never quite seen anyone do it that well. Before.
There are a couple
and
of
you're
them
just
out
like,
there.
Jesus.
Yeah, because they tell you in film school, it's like, don't let a dialogue scene go past like, what is it, like 2-3 pages. I'm like, Tarantino's like got 30 pages of dialogue. You know, it's like I don't know, I don't know if that's true. I think it's like 2 pages of good dialogue. But
there you go.
Right, exactly. You know? And I think it's like learn the rules to break the rules kind of a thing. There's absolutely a way to break the rule, but you've got to have that style or approach to it where you're like, this is going to work because of explicitly how I'm doing it. Versus like in broad strokes, it's true for most writers, if you don't have a specific approach to it, it won't work very well. Like,
you know, the other thing working in your benefit here, Scott, is you're working in a medium where you can have an entire chapter book of just great dialogue if you want to play with the form. You know, so let that brain and those creative juices flow, my friend. I'm sure it'll be
I love you guys, man. You guys get it. Like, see, I love that. But yeah, I appreciate all that, and that's really kind words. The
last thing I'll say on this, and then we'll keep scrolling down the page. But the last thing I will say is when you mentioned it's kind of more like real life, and I was like, right. When I read Periwinkle Chapter 1. And the situation with Santa Claus, and of course, seeing what the world of Cupid is, where it's like Santa Claus is gone and the world has gone to shit, you know, it's gone to hell. And it reminds me of like, you know, when there is a terrible world leader dictator somewhere and you're like, no, they're horrible. They deserve to go. But then it destabilizes the entire region.
Right.
If you do it in the wrong, right.
Exactly.
So it's like
important. Yeah.
Right. So it's like you weren't wrong. They were. They might have been a really fucking horrible thing,
leader, but they were a necessary evil, right?
Right. But if you do it the wrong way, you are still making everyone suffer for their removal. You know, and it's like it. So yeah, it is like real life in that way. Like you can never just get rid of a terrible person easily without fallout. Right.
Yeah. Life's ugly, you know, and I try to capture that to an element in my works, and it's not always as clean. I know, you know, sometimes when I send stuff to the group, it's like, oh, but I'm like, this is life, you know, like this is what it's really gonna look like, guys. I mean, so I'm glad that you guys see it. So I'm like, there's at least 3 of us in the world.
Dave, I was telling him, you know, 2 of the properties I've already written and have, you know, sort of shopping to artists. One is that you know, sort of Death Santa and Death Elf concept. So I'm a person who totally understands this world, loves it, and it's just so satisfying. Awesome. It's just extraordinarily satisfying. So I'm happy to see people like you already in that space.
Love it.
And you've got a good with Arturo, the artist, like he gives you that space in the panels for the dialogue. So plainly, like it doesn't feel, even though when we were just scrolling down those pages in the PDF, I was like, yeah, that is like, you got to that one, like it's like big splash page, like setting the scene, setting the tone. And then you get to the dialogue and it's like 3/4 of the page is dialogue. And you're like, oh yeah, there is a lot of dialogue there, but it breathed, like the way he draws those panels and gives you that space. It just feels like it's right. You know, it's like he knows how to give you that space without making those pages feel cramped. So you guys got something good going on.
Yeah, he's one of the few artists I work with that actually in his roughs has the bubbles laid out.
That's the mark. That's the mark of a pro right there, man.
And to think this is only like his really like second series he's worked on.
All right, Scott, I'm definitely going to need some contact info.
We're going to need you to share your Rolodex, and we will. You come first. You come first, but if they have spare time,
absolutely, 100%.
Totally. Yeah, I would never like hoard him. I mean, I know what he is, and I'm not going to be able to keep him. I mean, one of the big guys, I don't know, Image or whoever, might find him, and
don't say
probably
that.
Found him. Yeah, I know. I'm trying. That's why I'm trying to pump up my.
They'll find both
series
of you.
quick.
That's right.
Come on now.
That'd be nice. Yeah, I'm like Arturo, bring me along with you, buddy.
All right.
So let's get down to these covers.
Get down to the cover. So here is the main cover.
Yep.
Of Cupid, and this is a great cover.
Tell us what we got in here, Scott.
Love that one. Funny story is C actually came first. Cover C. So
let's go down.
So he did that, and I can't remember in the style he meant. There's a certain artist he meant, and I'm blanking on it. But he wanted to do a style in that, and I'm like, this is gorgeous. Best? That might be.
It looks like
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds right. He I'm like, Arturo, this is probably the most gorgeous cover I've ever
seen.
But I'm
Art Nouveau adjacent.
Yeah. But I'm like, I don't have a freaking spot to put the damn logo. And I'm not gonna cover
a nice virgin
up.
cover, alternate.
So I was like, all right,
cover,
yeah, I'll do a virgin cover on this because I'm definitely using this. I'm like, can you do another one for me? So then he was kind enough. So we did A.
Okay.
Which just kind of captures the spirit, the little kiss me hearts and all that.
Yeah, I do like the kiss me hearts. Yeah, all of them.
So, and like it shows the Tooth. I mean, because Tooth and Boogie really shine in this series. So I wanted them to have kind of more of a spotlight in this one. Okay. Yeah, I love it. It's just fun loving, and
it's a good one. It's a good one.
Gives you a good idea what's going on.
Yeah, it has great energy. It tells you the relationships. It tells you, it's great stuff.
Gorgeous. And then Kit Wallace. I know Kit Wallace.
That's on my bucket list to work with Kit. And I was fortunate enough to work with Kit on Serial Killer. For the whole book. But before that, I reached out because Kit's a busy guy. I'm like, could you knock out like a variant for me? Gave him very little information. He just popped this thing out in like 2 days.
Look at that.
And I'm like, you summed it up. I'm like,
you really did.
Yep.
Really
foul mouth, drinking, chain smoking, Cupid. That's about it. So
and he does a foul mouth. I don't know if it's chain smoking actually. He does Horus in Hell, right?
He does. We were talking about.
I was gonna say a bunny who's also foul mouthed and chain smoking. So I'm like, it's up his alley. This is
his wheelhouse. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I love that one.
Oh, and also through Bad Bug, right? Horus in Hell. That is also going through Bad Bug.
It's back to he was at Alan was a Source Point for a while, and now he's back home with Bad Bug.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
And then here's cover C, which we've already looked at, and cover D, also by Arturo. Good God, man.
Yeah, I can't remember the artist on this one either, but it was an homage to that artist who does a lot of like Christmas kind of prints and stuff. Because people were asking me like, who drew that one? I'm like, Arturo. Like, but it looks nothing like his other work.
Right.
And originally that was going to be a print, and Mike Tiener is the one. He's like, let's turn this into a variant cover.
Okay.
Good idea.
And does Periwinkle actually feature in the comic itself, or is this just a cover kind of showing the connection between the two?
In an Easter egg, he shows up, but they don't connect yet.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Fair. All right. Who the fuck is Scott Wilke? This is a fair question.
And
what is that picture, buddy?
Back when I had hair and less of a beard. Yeah.
Back when you had other kinds of hair elsewhere, right?
Exactly.
Switched it off.
We were talking because Mike Tiener and I were talking, and he's like, you kind of just fall under Bad Bug. He's like, I don't think a lot of people know you as a writer and what you've done.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're right. I'm like, but I don't want to do something pretentious like the Scott Wilke collection or or some,
right.
So I'm like, how do we meme this a bit and make it kind of just tongue in cheek, kind of self-deprecating. So I was like, call it Who the Fuck is Scott Wilke tier. So it's all my safe for work titles that I have under Bad Bug, because I have a bunch of not safe for works. Like Hyperdice, Guys, Bobby Joe. So it's Serial Killer you'll get, Undercity, and then Monster World along with the Periwinkle, which is an 80-pager.
Very cool. Are the I guess we'll keep going down, but are the not safe for work ones, are they available as like add-ons or anything like that in this campaign?
You can do them as add-ons too if you want. Yep.
Okay, perfect. All right, the I Love Cupid pack. Oh yeah, the collector's box. I like this collector's box. Yeah, this looked very cool.
And I gotta give it to Mike Tiener because I fought him on this because little backstory. Periwinkle, we promised a lot that we couldn't deliver on, and so we fell short on a lot of things, pissed off a lot of backers, rightfully so. And I tried to make up to them by like giving them extra stickers, extra this, extra that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I learned a lesson. I'm like, I'm going to keep it bare bones and simple next time I do this. So I just wanted variant covers and stickers, and that was it. And Mike was petitioning. He's like, let's do a box. We've done one for Horus. We've done one for Death Knell. They look really good. I'm like, I just don't want to. And then like the night before the launch, Mike sends me this mock-up. And I'm like, you son of a bitch. I'm like, now I need it. And I'm like, all right, let's roll with it. So, and of course, like most of the people backing this are from like Finland and Norway.
Of course.
Like the shipping's gonna kill me, but it's
absolutely
so pretty.
It is. I know.
Yeah.
I had we just did our very first Kickstarter last month. me and Dallas, and it came just shy. We got it to 85% of funded, so it didn't quite make it. So we're going to relaunch next month and try it one more time. Yeah, no, and it went well, like 132 backers, which for a very first one.
This is like Armageddon, right? Armageddon.
Yeah,
Armageddon.
Yeah.
I
look like a good book.
Yeah.
And our top tier, of course, which is like the most expensive and then has the highest shipping, like you just said, it was like all like people from oh my god, like some countries where I was like, I'm sorry, what, like Estonia and things like that. I'm like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, what?
And I'm like, okay, sure, I guess.
It figures, right? It's super cool. Right. I think your book's gonna go like across the ocean and
exactly. I know I'm paying out of pocket for it,
but then you have to get it.
Cool.
Yeah,
you have to get it there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You need to find some Estonia shippers or Estonia printers to print it there.
Right. All right.
Beautiful
and then and then the add-ons, you've got the sticker pack, the Simples sticker pack, and then the Cupid Skulls sticker pack.
Cupid Skulls.
Yeah, I had Conrad Kerpluk do those. He did the Simples for me. They're those little kind of beautifully ugly characters that I just love. They just have so much like personality. I just love them. So he did some for Periwinkle, and those are the free things I gave away to kind of like, apologize to backers before. I'm like, do you want to do it again? And he loved the characters, and so he did that skull, and then I'm like, can you do like a skull on your normal kind of thing? And that's those Cupid skulls to the left and or to the right. And I loved each one. I'm like, I'm just gonna make all three of them because I'm like, I can't choose between the skull and crossbones and which ones I like the most. So
yeah, very cool. All right, sketch cover, of course, available as an add-on only.
Yep.
I'm assuming because it's limited in the number that people that you're gonna. Well,
right. Yeah.
All right, gorgeous. And there, of course, there's the collector's box. Just available as an add-on for $20 if you want.
You can add it as it's a tier. Otherwise, you can add it on.
Okay,
cool. Yep. Books available as add-ons as well. So yes, we have Serial Killer, Welcome to Monster World, Undercity Tales.
Yep.
Dun, dun, dun.
And then all the fine print stuff at the end.
All the fine print, and that's the end. Anything we haven't mentioned yet that we still need to mention?
I think you guys covered it all.
Did we? I think so. I think we got. Yeah. I will ask this of you though, Scott. So we got guys. If you don't know, we only got the ash can. Unfortunately, Scott.
We're cooking on it. We're almost there. We're halfway lettered.
Damn it! What?
And when we wind up liking it that much, we're sort of like, "Oh, we only got 6 fucking pages, man."
Exactly. It was like, wait, what? I don't have an opinion. I can't form an opinion. I only have 10 pages. Anyway, so we mentioned earlier how when you started down the Periwinkle road, you didn't necessarily have sort of the multiverse, the universe kind of planned out. What about the Cupid narrative here? Where are we going? How far out are you planned? Or are you just sort of digging into one chapter, one story, and then seeing where it takes you? How far are we going here?
Yeah, I think I can probably drop some exclusives here.
Stop it.
No, but
exclusives.
I wanted Cupid to be a series of one-shots, so contain stories. Just from a financial perspective, I don't want to try to get into a series of 6 and then only get through 3, like in my history.
Good plan.
So I was writing Cupid 2, and as I was writing Cupid 2, I was struggling, and then I was like, you know what? I started playing with Jack Frost as a side character, and I'm like, I think he's got legs. To stand on his own. So now we're on to Jack Frost, where he's an assassin. He works for his old man Winter, who's like a mob boss. Right. So he's his enforcer, and then that kind of we pick up there. So there's like so much lore in all of it. There's a lot of winter deities that I didn't even realize existed. So so Jack Frost is going to be the next installation, and then I think I'm going to start to combine these worlds now and bring Periwinkle, Jack Frost. Yeah, I'm like 15 years behind like the shared universe curve. But like I said, I like to be fashionably late,
Same. And baby step into it. I think you're totally right about that. Rather than to be like, I'm gonna have 10 ongoing series like spinning all at the same time, and it's like, that sounds like hell. I don't know if you actually want to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, guys, you heard it here first. Scott Wilke from Bad Book Media, the creator and writer of Cupid, is giving us an exclusive that next up, or at least in the near future, perhaps, maybe, if he decides on it, there will be an extrapolation or continuation into the world of Jack Frost as a new character.
We're cooking on it right now, actually.
All right.
So, yeah, we can confirm. I'll confirm that, baby. But yeah, we got some art already. So Arturo's busy at work. So.
I'm real again. I think there's something weird. Not weird. That's the wrong term. There's something really sort of electric about taking these universal characters, these sort of, and I hate using the phrase public domain, these public domain characters, which are so accessible, and turning up the volume, turning up the heat, and turning them into real sort of lived-in characters that have dust-ups, that have wounds, that have a full sort of
you get it.
I do get it, and I love it. So I'm excited to see whatever.
Because I've been struggling. Because I mean, even at the end of the day, like the Kickstarter is funded, but there's kind of this feeling that is it finding its audience? And I've battled with some of the Bad Book guys because it's like you picked Cupid. I've heard people say like he's kind of the boring character of like the holidays, and I'm like, but he's untapped. Right. Like there's really not a lot of people that have like messed with him, and like it's a mix. It's a double-edged sword.
It's still recognizable, right? Cupid is Cupid. Everyone knows what that is, and that like there's the interest there just from the recognition.
I'm going to go ahead and throw my Saint Patrick as a.
Dude,
you know where I'm going. You know where I'm going with this.
Let's collab, man. Let's do it. Yeah, let's do it. I'm all ears. Let's go, man.
Absolutely.
And to be fair, Dallas, I think public domain is actually not the right word to use for these characters because they were never commercial. They were never privately owned by anyone.
True. Yeah, that's true.
So
that's true.
They never fell. They didn't have to fall into the public domain. Yeah. They just were myths, folklore, gods and goddesses and whatnot. And so it was always belonged. The church would argue with this probably. They always belonged to the people.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we are at the time to reveal what we paired with this bad boy. So literally this bad boy in this case. So Dallas, since this is your triumphant return, would you like to kick us off this time?
Yeah, let's go with it. All right. So if you couldn't tell, I really like the world you've crafted here, Scott. I think the most effective properties in the comic space, some of the most effective properties in the comic space do two things. One is they tap into some universal experience. And two, they take it to a dynamic and dramatic place. And I think because of these, like we were talking earlier, pristine characters of the Santa, of Cupid, of the elves, there's nowhere to go but up when it comes to taking these characters and muddying them up and bloodying them up and, allowing them to kind of mirror, as fanboys ourselves, we do remember when we were less jaded, when we were pure. And now at 30s and our 40s, we understand how shitty life in the world and we can be at certain times. And I think you taking these characters and putting them in these sort of gray areas where their survival depends on their own sort of skill, talent, and fortitude. And it isn't always clear whether or not they're the good guy or the bad guy is going to resonate really, really well with audiences. And because of that, it's really satisfying.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. And so I knew I wanted something that was sort of going to be bold, medium to sort of high boldness. I knew I wanted something that was sort of, in terms of its smoothness or its tannic structure, something that was kind of just right down the middle. Something that's the accessibility. It wasn't too crazy in either direction. I knew I wanted something that was kind of witty and dry, and when I come across wit in literature, I do associate that with dryness.
Dry humor.
Dry humor, absolutely. And I knew it was something that I wanted. I knew I wanted something that was sort of mid-level acidity. It has a bite, it has a punch. But it's again not too crazy in the world you're building here.
Not standoffish.
Not standoffish, exactly. I think because of the accessibility, though, of those characters, that generally reminds me of things like oak and vanilla and tobacco when I think of Santa and the North Pole, when I think of the elves, when I think of Cupid, I think of oak, vanilla, tobacco, black fruit. I think of cocoa and chocolate when I think of Cupid, which makes me think of Valentine's Day, of course. And I knew I wanted a red. This is, and I should backtrack here generally, and I have to say this every time, even though I'm sure the audience is well aware now. When I approach these pairings, I either choose the beverage I would like to drink as a character in the background of the world. Not anyone who's, I'm not stopping to save anyone's life.
Watching what's going on. Yeah.
I'm the guy who's at the scene of the death, just standing against the wall with his arms crossed, on his phone, sipping a glass of wine, going, God, I hope that guy doesn't die. Like, that's how I imagine myself in these worlds. I'm not engaging. I'm just the guy.
Smart.
I'm Waldo.
Smart. Yeah.
Right.
Or the beverage I would enjoy, while sitting on the couch enjoying this world. And for me,
I mean, if you think about it, Dallas, you're an observer either way. It's just how detached of an observer. Are you in the world and observing? Or are you?
It's all observation.
And observing. Yeah.
I may have some witty commentary to the characters, but I'm never going to get involved if I'm in the world. So I decided. This is the vintage. This is the rubric of the way into this world was being a character in the world you've created, because it does actually look like a lot of fun just to get to see these, characters I have a great affinity and affinity for, sort of come to life. So I actually decided, instead of going with a French, instead of going with an Italian or Rhone or Burgundy, I decided I was going to go with something a little quirkier, because I do think what you've done with the treatment of the three of the characters, of the dominant characters here, is kind of quirky. It's not left to center, but it's quirky. It's quirky.
Yeah.
And I went with a Lebanese red. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with this, but it is the Plateau de Crafaya 2028. It is there we are.
There you go.
Yeah.
It is a Lebanese red here. In terms of price, you can pick up a bottle usually around $20, $25.
Oh, that's doable.
Yeah, it is very punchy. It is a little quirky. You get the vanilla, you get the oak, you get those really accessible flavors, but you also get some notes that you don't really expect. The cacao or the cocoa, the chocolate kind of back in. Yeah, it's fun.
Cool.
Love it. Nice.
All right. So very similar thinking, but I did not go quirky, but I'll explain why there. Before I actually read Cupid, just knowing it was a Cupid comic, and I kind of just had glanced at the art, and I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure this is going to be rosé territory, right? Because you've got the romance wine, the couple's wine, and it's Cupid, and it looked fun, and it looked lighthearted, and I was wrong. I was kind of wrong about that, really, almost entirely.
It is, yeah.
It is. I mean, it's fun, but not in a lighthearted. That's not the right word for this one, right? It's
that's fair.
The themes are heavy, the characters are heavy. Cupid is
a
hardened, broken fucking individual at this point. Right. It's not just I'm in a crime world, but I'm Cupid and I'm having a blast. It's like no one's having a blast. here. So, and I realized that when I read Periwinkle and then read the base and read the preview of Cupid and kind of read more about what this world and environment was, I was like, yeah, not a rosé. Just not a rosé. I'm going somewhere else with this. But where I went, kind of like what Dallas said, you need something that it needs to have a heft. It needs to have some body. It needs to have some weight to it because of the themes and the characters. And like there is a darkness to it, but it is closer to gray, right? So it's not just like heavy morose. It's not I don't know, some of the it's not a comic like, you know, Dark Knight Returns or V for Vendetta or, you know, another Kickstarter one like Discordia, which I think is a bad bug as well, or things where it's like, this is dark. Like there's nothing much hopeful going on in this world. And that's not this either. There is more fun and more of the characters kind of trying to find their way through this and out of this. And a lot of them have good intentions, even if their options suck. So, and this is still Cupid, and this is still Valentine's Day-ish kind of themed in that way. So I went with something, I'm like, what's a wine that I always think of when it comes to like Cupid Valentines, but to Vidalis's point, usually comes with like that oak, that vanilla, some things on the back end that has like some chocolate, some you're gonna get like some of those drier, heftier herbal notes like bay leaf, you know, tobacco, maybe a little bit of tobacco, but on the fruit end, because with wine, especially red wines, and I definitely went to red wine, it just is not light enough to go anywhere else. So I'm like, okay, we're going red, and we're going a nice inky red. I wanted something that had the red flavors, but then fruit note wise, I was like, okay, I'm not looking for like blackberry and like, I'm not looking for the darkest and the densest of all of this. I still want to be on a little bit on the red spectrum. I still want some of that to be like strawberry and raspberry, and like nothing screams love and Valentine's than fucking strawberries. So it's like, yeah, the strawberry. I want that strawberry note. I think that's going to be our light element to it. But then a strawberry note wine that comes in punching and comes in with like a lot happening on the back end. And this, but I went traditional rather than quirky, unlike Dallas, and I had to go for Zinfandel. This to me is, and the one I chose here, deep. I'm gonna, let's get this nice and showing. This is Turley.
Oh, yeah, Turley.
And you can see they have all sorts of Zinfandels. They have different Zinfandels from different vineyards that all run in like the $35 to $45 range, or they have I didn't have any bottles of this, so I just went with this one, but they have a basic, like, this is our house Zinfandel that really is like more your $20 to $25 a bottle range. And it has the same characteristics as these single vineyard ones, which is, this is all California. This is all, this is Lodi. So it's warm weather. The fruit grows ripe. The alcohol content is high. It grows dense and thick skins, and you're going to get a lot of extraction into that wine. So yeah, you've got that strawberry, you've got that gentleness, some chocolate, but very dark chocolate. And then you get that tobacco and bay leaf, and just like this, the tannin level is kind of high too. Like there's rough edges to it that kind of come in. So you've got like your Valentine's Day thoughts followed by all this roughness that comes in after, that I think really rounds it out. And I do think, you know, if you look for Zinfandel anywhere really these days, nowadays, Zinfandel is predominantly grown in two places, which is California and Italy. There is some grown in like South Africa, some in Australia, but not much comparatively. Like if you want to find imported Zinfandel, it's going to come from the state of California or Italy. They call it Primitivo in Italy. So if you ever see a bottle of Primitivo, that is what the Italians call Zinfandel, and it grows hot and wonderful and very similarly over there. And if you can even find, I'm going to write this in the chat so everyone, Primitivo Appassimento style. And this is something you can find sometime. And what a Passamento style is, and only the Italians do that. We do not do this here at all. But they do it. It's partially dehydrating the grapes. It's partially raisioning them before making the wine. before fermenting them.
It increases the sugar content a little bit.
Yeah, it concentrates those flavors like insanely. So if you want it even rougher around the edges, if you want a version where you're like, this is nice, it's got some rough edges, but if anyone reads this comic and they're like, you know what, I could use something even heftier, look for that Primitivo Appassimento. That's going to give it to you. There is an Appassimento Primitivo at Trader Joe's right now that is $12.99 a bottle. So it's like nice and budget, and it's delicious. It's really good.
All right.
So that is one to look for if you go out that way. But yeah, Turley, Zinfandel, they're famous here in California. They have some affordable wines. They have some not so affordable wines. They got a range. But you can find it. And Zinfandel is the primary thing they make. They make Zinfandel and Petit Syrah, and not a little bit of other things, but that is like what they're known for. It's what they have like 20 different versions of both of those. So I think that is my pairing that made me think of Cupid and Valentine's, but with that weight and heft.
Yeah, that is a go-to Valentine's vintage.
It is. Zinfandel makes me think of Valentine's Day every time. It's like my February wine. I cannot entirely justify that. It's a little bit of a weird association in my head, but I have it.
And for me, the Merlot and Zinfandel are probably at the bottom of my red list, like the just bottom of my red list.
Just bottom, like in terms of you enjoying them personally, you tend not to.
Yeah.
You've had Turley Zinfandels, right?
Yeah, I mean it's fine. It's a Zinfandel.
It'll pass. Yeah, it's fine. I'll drink it.
I'm a lover. I think
it's like IPA in terms of beer. It's beer.
Yeah, it'll do its job.
Right.
Everything with alcohol does its job, right?
Yeah,
you don't
exactly. That's how I feel. Yeah.
All right, so Scott, we always ask someone to bring on our guest to bring on a comic they've been loving, or have loved for a long time. Spotlight that and pair it with a beverage of their choice. So, what do you got for us?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I understood about 20% of what you guys were saying. I do have a very sophisticated palate, so you'll be happy to hear I chose the Wheat Claw. White Claw. You gotta pronounce that.
I'm sure you know who Travis Gibb is, right?
The Wheat Claw.
Of course. Yeah. I love the Gibb. I worked with the Gibb on Roseblood. Yeah.
Okay. So he came on. He had to drink White Claws on our show a little while ago. He was visiting relatives, and they only had White Claws. And he's like, "I've never had one before, but I'm gonna drink 2 of them while on the show." And we're like, and then he was like, "Only if you can get me 2 backers during the show." And we got him 2 backers. The people watching were like, "Oh yeah, fuck you, you're drinking those White Claws," and they all went and backed. And then he had to drink them, and we have him on camera pretending like just suffering through it.
They're great. Also, White Claw, if you want to sponsor either Scott, Dave, myself,
I'm here,
any of our projects, we are
always here to say how much we will suffer through your beverages.
100%.
And here I'm drinking them for free, and Travis got 2 backers out of it.
Right.
But I found it.
Little did you know.
Yeah, right. I found it appropriate with the book I chose. It was from James Tynan. Children. And again, to go with my fashionably late to everything, I just got into this series, so I know there's like a ton of lore coming out.
Yeah.
House of Slaughter. What's the third one? I can't remember now. But I love, and I try to achieve what he does, and it's a kind of, I equate it to almost like the John Wick kind of thing, where it's like you don't give everything right off the bat. You know, that we got the idea that there was like an organization in John Wick, but John Wick 1 didn't really give you too many details, and I love that. And I love that about something that's killing the children. I want more, and I hate when writers exposition dump on the first page, and it's like, here's the lore of this whole organization.
Right.
200 years worth of lore right now.
Right.
So I love that they kind of slowly feed you it. And James is, I just came into a lot of his works. He's a freaking genius.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just I found appropriate with the claws, monster claws. So I was going to do a whole pun thing, but we're past that at this point. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoy that series. I purchased all of them that are currently in trade right now, and I'm running through them, and it's just it's what I work to achieve as a writer is that level.
I have not read Something is Killing the Children yet. We did just do, so we have a Facebook group, the Wine and Comics Pairing Club, where we read like 2 graphic novels a month. And yeah, everyone who joins, it's like, if you can get go out and read these, and we'll do a live stream where we all get together and talk about it, kind of a thing. And we did Nice House on a Lake for Halloween.
I got that one. Yeah, I haven't read it yet. But
we haven't read it yet. Okay,
that's on my TBR.
I won't say too much, but we read the whole 12-part series and went through that.
It's good.
And I will say that he's a writer that, even though I have a lot of catching up to do on everything he's been doing in the last 5 years, which is when he's really established his empire, right?
Yeah,
it's as a independent creator. But I always thought, when he was co-writing with Scott Snyder, it was I actually kind of didn't like Scott Snyder's Batman once they stopped co-writing together. Frozen. And I kind of noticed that. I was like, that's curious. I'm like, why? It's like the co-writer went away, who I didn't even know who the fuck the co-writer was. I only knew who Scott Snyder was. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden I was like, does this seem to be losing its way a little bit? Like, not knowing what it's doing.
Makes you wonder who the lifter was, right?
Exactly. Right. And so that was my first inkling that I was like, I think I need to pay attention to the name of the guy who I never even heard of before and then disappeared. And I'm like, wait, where did that guy go? Because I'm getting the sense that was what I was really here for.
He was the one doing all the heavy lifting. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I'm finding that very quickly. I got Wind, I got a lot of his series, and I do have House on the Lake over here. I got so many over here.
I know. He's been busy. He's been busy.
Yeah, I know.
I want to read World Tree. I haven't done that yet. I haven't. He's got a lot at this point.
But I'm loving everything so far. So
good deal with a White Claw. Damn right.
Exactly. And you heard his latest announcement, so we know we've got tons more coming. Like he's
I know. I think
at this point,
good for
which is
him.
amazing.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, well deserved.
Yes. 100%.
Beautiful.
All right. Yeah.
Scott,
all right,
I gotta
guys.
say, buddy, this has been it's rare. No, I'm not gonna say it's rare, but you've been great to talk to, great to dig into your mind. I love what you guys are doing at Bad Bug Media. Cupid looks like so much fun, even though I only got to read 7 pages.
I'll hook you up with more. Yeah, we got some more letters coming through. I'll get you guys hooked up.
So yeah, guys, go check these guys out. Fund them, give them your interest with your dollars. They deserve it. They're doing amazing original work. And this has been the Wine and Comics Pairing Show with Scott Wilke of Bad Bug Media. And the title he's out shopping and pushing today is Cupid. That's it from Dallas.
And that I only came in really at the last half, but that's it from Dave as well. So I'm glad you two had I got to go back and watch the first half of this video now and be like, so I still didn't learn who the fuck Scott Wilke was. I have to I missed that part.
You'll find out.
That's what that's cheers for. Yeah.
We got into it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We dug it out.
Well, I'm sure we'll have you on again, Scott. But good night for now, everybody who's been watching. We will catch you next time. Tomorrow is our next show, in fact, so we'll see you tomorrow. We've got Joey Galvez on with Joey. The Geek Network. I'm sorry, not Geek Network. Geek Collective magazine, which is on Kickstarter right now. Yes. So we'll be talking about that tomorrow. And until then, we will see you later.